Hey guys, how's it going? I'm back with another wonderful video for all of you. Hopefully you're all having a great day, night, and or evening. Let's talk about something that's kind of a serious problem that I didn't really notice until more recently in Destiny 2, and it seems to happen a lot more after the Edge of Fate expansion drop. Now, you could sum it up to a lot of people being on the game at that time, but this has currently about the same amount of people on Destiny 2 right now as it did during the whole Right of the Nine thing, which wasn't exactly high, but not exactly low, so it wasn't a lot of pressure onto the server currently. And what I'm talking about, if you're still wondering, is complete raid desync, meaning to the point to where we're doing the entirety of the raid, and either you have the flags mess up, which, whatever, that's a well-known issue. Or if you're like me, every single time you run up those platforms to do final boss, you have a such situation such as this, where every single one of those little motes are just all over the place and not in the right area at all. And believe it or not, I would go up there and they'd be changed. I go to the location of where they weren't at, and they simply were gone. They just show up where I was all of a sudden, and I'd have to change where I was real quick. And that just would throw us all off. And you might be like, well, that sounds like user error. You'd imagine it's user error, but the very night before, we had a lot of the same desync situations happening. But by the final time we were doing it, it was completely fine and it was working properly. Unfortunately, yesterday, I was looking if we had any sort of background maintenance or anything going on. It seemed to just not be our day as a raid group at all. And it's really disappointing because if desyncing is such a large issue, why is it happening to this degree, and why has it not only been fixed already? And it's not just with this. I've had desyncing happening in this game since the moment that Edge of Fate dropped, and it's been really bad. I just didn't really think two times about it half the time. Like, I would just randomly die in this game out of nowhere, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And if you've been playing this and noticed that stuff like that has happened, I'm sure you thought the same process. Maybe it was just simple user mistake. Even on the Hydra for this raid, I was having desync happen to where I'd be shooting one of the eyes, and all of a sudden, they're just not bursting. And you could say, well, maybe your Wi-Fi sucks, but to be honest with you, I haven't had problems like this since before Edge of Fate, and if I did, it was very rare, not problematic situation going on. So I can't really remember too many times where I've actually had desync ruin my game, not just once, not just twice, but every single time I went to do a boss. And for this guy, I know you saw the clip, imagine that happening to you every single time you got to damage. I've even had a desync to the point to where I was going through the hoop, and it didn't take the chronon from me whatsoever. It was the proper color, it didn't kill me or anything, it just didn't take it from me. And I can only imagine that it's even worse the more I dig into it and the more I actually look at what the situation is. It probably is happening horribly on strikes as well, but with strikes it's not like it's a time-gated thing. On this, with raids, it is 100% time-gated situation because you have a certain amount of time to do what you need to do or else you're just going to totally wipe. That's how it is. Luckily with the Chronos, or whatever the hell you call them, I was able to have gotten another one after that and it worked again. But the desync in this game right now is absolutely horrendous, and it destroyed the entirety of my raid groups night last night. And it's not like we just tried 3 times, we tried like I'd say maybe 10 plus times, and every single time there was a desync, without any doubt at all. Now don't get me wrong, there was a few times where it was obviously our fault that we died, and we need to, restart. But the fact of the matter is that was when we weren't getting to boss, because I was teaching some of these guys still. They were learning what to do. The moment we consistently got to the boss, the desync never stopped. You say probably to me, oh, why didn't you go to orbit and go back? Well, we did. Why didn't you restart the game? We did, because we had all the microphones stop working in the game. everyone could not communicate with each other anymore. So we literally had to restart the entirety of the game. Well, why didn't you do this or that? I guarantee you we tried it. And this is 100% on the part of Bungie, and I'm usually one who tries not to badmouth Bungie too much, but when someone makes a fucking mistake, and it's a very obvious and horrendous mistake, and this was happening to people on the day one version of the raid, but I didn't see it like this, there's a problem. That means the game isn't fleshed out well enough, and there's something or someone or some reason why they have decided to not test it to the point to see how bad the desync in this game actually is. Either that, or they don't notice it because all their computers are in the same room, unless they're working remote, but that might be a different situation. You know, I don't know how remote jobs work. I don't have one, I'm not lucky enough, but because they're in the same room, it pretty much is working in a LAN situation, so they're not even going to notice something like that, because they're literally might as well be connected peer-to-peer like your old Xbox 360 used to do way back in the day to play Halo before, if you didn't have Xbox Live, okay? That's the only other thing I could think of. But the desync in this game is absolutely horrendous, and I don't know what they can do to fix it, but they need to fix it quick. The portal, I don't like it at all. I tried to get used to it. I wasn't too fond of it. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but I truly am not a big fan of the portal. I think it's honestly made things slightly more confusing for a new player to come into, and there's really no new content in there for the most part. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that the new expansion absolutely sucks, because it doesn't. This is kind of what I expected. There's not going to be a ton of stuff when you're getting half an expansion here with a little update halfway through the year, and then half an expansion here with a little update halfway through that part of the year. That's kind of, you know, I didn't expect final shape size stuff, but they should have thrown a little something in there. You know, I know they said they did something with Onslaught. I'm not sure if it's released or not yet, but I can tell you right now, I haven't noticed anything. The gear grind, making it so you reset back to 200 every single, which I didn't know this at first. I didn't know that's what they were doing. Maybe I missed that in the patch notes somewhere, or in the Bungie live streams, because most of the time I'm working during them. They're resetting you back to 200 every single season. What the hell's with that? And a lot of people are complaining about the fact that you don't get tier 5 gear from raids immediately. That seems like a natural gift, at least tier 3, man. And then when you put feats on, you automatically get tier 5 after that. Because isn't the whole part of feats is that you get more complicated gear than you currently have, like more complex, better, superior gear? It shouldn't be all hidden behind this wall of you have to do these triumphs in A, B, C, and D order, or else you're not going to get better gear. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's honestly a huge failure on Bungie's part for doing something like that. I respect and would like to grind gear like we currently have it. I don't mind a tier system at all. I think it's good. I think it helps the game in a lot more ways and makes it seem like the armor's actually important, okay? Versus if we didn't have it, we kind of just knew what was good and threw everything else away, and once you had good rules for that, you didn't grind for the gear anymore. But what's not going to make people grind for gear more is resetting everyone back to 200 every single month. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that raising the power cap would do anything, but resetting players isn't going to necessarily do anything either. I don't think everyone's constantly looking for the XP grind and leveling, but I know Diablo does it. Maybe I'm wrong here. If I'm correct, Diablo resets a character by making you make a brand new character that's fresh. You get to keep all of your gear, and then for that character you have to re-level up for the season. I haven't played Diablo yet. I actually just got it the other day. I haven't played it yet, but I'm going to see what it is here soon. And from my knowledge, it works for them. But Diablo is also a very different game than Destiny. I feel like, yes, you grind in Diablo, but it's not the same way you grind in Destiny. I definitely think that Destiny is a more complex game than Diablo is, and like I said, I'm really only using this for comparisons. It is a much more complex game than Diablo is, and it does not make any sense to be resetting levels every single end of the season. I think they tried this before, and it wasn't exactly a success for them. You shouldn't be resetting tiers either. That's not an answer. The only thing I can maybe say is if you are going to reset levels, do it like you did with the season pass, to where you would hit level, I don't know, 200, or let's say the level cap's 200, because I don't believe that's the level cap. I believe the current level cap is 400. Let's say you hit the level cap 200, okay? And let's pretend that is the level cap right now. Just stay with me, all right? And you, through the season pass and through just XP grinded, level up 3 or 4 times because of your season pass level, like they used to do. That makes sense. And then they take those levels away from you, but you're still at pinnacle cap level. At least with armor, you're at pinnacle cap level, and weaponry, you're at pinnacle cap level. The new system isn't going to very much work well, and I see what they're going for, but I don't think it's going to work well in the later portions of this. I like what they did with the tier system, 100% for everything. I don't like the obstacles they make you go through to get it because it's kind of stupid. The portal, like I said before, not a huge fan of how it looks. I wasn't big on the portal to begin with. I don't think it's the worst thing I've ever seen, but I don't think it's good either. It could definitely be massively improved. And one thing I can say though is it does tell you exactly what you're going to get, and it is in front of your face, so maybe new players will like it. But as an old player, I am not a fan of the new portal as much as probably some of the new players might be. And I could be incorrect about that. They could hate the portal, because I've always personally liked looking at the planets and figuring it out from there. But whatever, that's less of a problem than the decent issue we've been having. A very large problem to me though is Fireteam Finder. Now you might ask, why does Fireteam Finder a problem for you? Well, I'll explain. Fireteam Finder is horrendously ass compared to its old predecessor that it had before, where you could type into the comments exactly what you wanted or required from a person, even if that was something like gamer e-girl looking for big strong boys to brog their way and carry me through this raid like a true knight in shining armor. You get what I mean? It's funny, but it gets to the point. They're looking for a decent player because they're probably bad at the game. Whether they were a real e-girl or not, and you got disappointed when you joined and found out that it was a guy that was pretending, is up to you. But overall, it was your own title you could create. Versus currently, right now, what you have is they give you certain tags to select through, and once you have those tags, it's kind of like you're not differentiating yourself from anyone else. And half the time, especially when it comes to Desert Perpetual, the Desert Perpetual, how the fuck are you supposed to know what's the difference between first, second, and third checkpoint is versus just final checkpoint? You don't, because you can choose the part you want. At least make it so you can add either Hobgoblin, Hydra, and or Wyvern in there, so you can have that as an option to show where you're at, and then you put first, second, or third checkpoint. That's the only thing that makes sense, because they wanted this to be a type of raid where you choose how you want to do it first. Guardians make their own fate kind of shit, you know what I mean? Which is awesome, and I really like the concept, and it's great, but it does not work with Fireteam Finder. It simply doesn't work. The amount of times that I had people join on me and be like, oh, what checkpoint is this? And I'm like, first, second. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they just dip because really they wanted like a third checkpoint or whatever it is. Was immense. Fireteam Finder is still a good concept, but most of the Fireteam Finder places I see that are extremely active aren't even from Bungie anymore. They're on Discords. Now, I don't know if you remember back in the day on Destiny 1, there was actually websites dedicated to Fireteam Finders. Let me see if I can pull one up. Destiny 1 LFG. Yep, still have them. They're still there. Legacy LFGs. The 100.io and Veteran Grind, Betting Company 689. I don't know who these guys are, but yep, they're still there. They still have Legacy OG website Fireteam Finder, and I'm not 100% sure if they've ever created an LFG Fireteam Finder just for basic Destiny. I don't think they did. But still, in my opinions, those work better than half the time when Bungie created their own Fireteam Finder. People are using the Discord Fireteam Finder because you can type exactly what you need, where you are, and who you want in your team. Now, I know you can still add Titan, Hunter, Warlock, all that crap in there, but it honestly... The new Fireteam Finder, to me, was made to reduce the amount of bot comments that come in through the legacy version of Fireteam Finder. Understood. I get it. Why didn't you just make it so if they had these certain, amount of words, they just get banned? They just banned them. Anything to do, come purchase it at this one, just ban them. Dude, ban them. It's not that hard. You could pretty much tell if their bots are not off the bat. It's not crazy, just ban the fucking account, okay? Which I know you might be like, oh, blah, 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 but it's against terms and service to begin with to be selling anything like that. And it's not like it stopped these people. They still use the new Fireteam Finder, you just don't know what they're doing until it's already too late and you're there now. That is the only difference with that, if we're being completely honest. Not only that, but the amount of hackers that are in the game currently, surpass Fireteam Finder here now, because that's a total shit show, okay? And I could keep going on about that all day. But the amount of hackers that are in this game right now is ridiculous. I'm not sure what Bungie needs to do, but with the fact that they have Marathon around the corner, at least, possibly around the corner, who knows anymore? But the fact that they have Marathon around the corner, and the anti-cheat on Destiny 2 was so horrendous, and they're going to be having a hybrid PvP game with slight PvE aspects, it seems, something like that. I don't know, I didn't get to play Marathon, so I have no idea. And their anti-cheat on Destiny 2 looks this horrendous? What the hell is going on? It's not like it's hard to spot these people. Over, I believe, 70% of the clears for day 1 contest was cheaters, man. I was doing a fresh run, I wasn't doing a fresh run, we just beat the Wyvern. We were on the Hydra, and we were looking for people through LFG. And I didn't even think about it twice, really, and I invited a guy. I was like, he's a little low power level, whatever. And he came in, he joined, instantly destroyed the fucking Hydra. Bungie, what is going on? Why are these hackers allowed to just be around as long as they want? And this is where I come to say, maybe it's time for Bungie to make Destiny 2 no longer free to play. And I know it's a very enticing thing for them, and it's what brings a lot of people in. But you either need to start doing these two things. Making it so when you find a cheater, you ban the serial number of their motherboard, their graphics card, and their CPU, and have your game work literally on a kernel level, or whatever the situation is, so you can do such a thing. Or you need to make it non-free to play, so it forces the person to constantly buy the game over and over again if they want to hack. Either way, it's not good. It almost, the amount of hackers that it has increased since Right of the Nine alone has been extremely high. I used to never see hackers in this game at all, especially in PvE settings. Never. But now, it's damn near every other account is a modder that's pissed off at Bungie for one reason or another, and then wants to ruin someone else's run thinking that that's what they want. No, it's not what I want. I want to beat the raid on real terms. I came to play the game, not mod it for a reason. I've been playing this game for years. You think I'm going to use cheats now, when I still like the game, without you even asking me to pass a raid boss? No. You just ruined my run. Now I need to reset the entirety of the run, start at Hydra again, which is a pain in the ass, by the way, then go to Hobgoblin, then go back to doing the chicken for a second time because you ruined my run. That's what I have to do. It takes more time out of my day. And I know you could say, well, why didn't you just move on? Because I wasn't trying to move on. I didn't want the dude to be in my raid report or anything in case Bungie comes around and was like, oh, these guys definitely had a hacker in there. And then they banned my account because some asshole decided to come off LFG, scream racist terms at me, and my friends that were there, some of them were, but not all of them were, but still, stream racist terms at us while he's there after I booted him and figured out he was a hacker, and then no repercussions happened to him whatsoever. I didn't want to be the one that gets in trouble. Not having it, dude. It's, I've done everything in this game generally legit for the most part. I don't think, maybe I glitched up some XP a long time ago, before it was against terms of service. I might have done that to get the season pass stuff faster. That's all I could really think of. Never once modded, never once asked for modders, didn't want any of that shit, didn't want anything to do with it. And Trials of Osiris is still over here looking at us like, please, someone help save me. It's a big problem, and all of these situations need to be resolved and resolved fast, or else I think Bungie's going to have a dead game on their hands. And I don't want Destiny to die. I love the game. It's literally, to this day, one of my favorite games. And will continue to be, unless they just let this continuously happen, from everything with the desync, to the portal, to the power grind, all the way to the hackers. Now, you guys have a great day, night, and or evening. Thanks for stopping by. Peace.